How would you like to discover how to go from unworthy, unloved, unknown to loved, worthy, seen, and understood? Allura Halliwell will tell us how to do it. And what's so special about Allura is that she's a consciousness mentor and transformational guide whose radical awakening in 2018 catapulted her into a lifelong mission to help others to reconnect with the truth of who they are. So, Allura, tell us more about how does someone go from feeling unloved and abandoned and feeling unworthy to a feeling of being worthy of everything the life has to offer?
Heal Podcast with Lily Patrascu shares longevity and anti-aging techniques to stay young forever, increase energy, overcome addiction, and live your longest, best life ever. Shared by world's most innovative, alternative, and traditional health, thought leaders, healers, and doctors. Discover quantum healing strategies to heal your mind, body, and soul.
Yeah, hi Lily. It's such a beautiful question and such a big mission that all humans are on, to complete the known feeling within everyone that we are actually loved, we are actually worthy, we are actually understood. But the problem is in the translation of that. Like, we look around to our lives and we think, oh, the relationships aren't quite working, we're not quite in our purpose, our job isn't really serving us, we're just doing it because we want to get paid and survive. We're not feeling completely understood by family and friends, or maybe we're not being seen in our expression and how we want to communicate. So we feel this kind of sense of separation, really, of who we are and how the world is reflecting us. So for me, it's a really deep dive into the relationship within ourselves, because often what happens is we're looking for everyone outside us to make us feel different and better, but we're actually bypassing how we can work internally to make ourselves feel those feelings independent of our external life. How can you actually feel truly deeply loved without relying on the addiction of trying to get something outside of you to make you feel okay? And everyone that I've worked with has to realize in themselves that the deepest level of love, the person that's only really going to ever love them their whole lives, is actually themselves. But there's often this massive gap where people don't understand how to love themselves. They don't understand how to honor or take care of themselves or have their own boundaries. And they keep looking for others to make them okay. And it always causes a deep level of unsafety. So it's about flipping the focus and coming really into the core of who you are and working so deeply with the limitations that keep you from feeling these feelings of being loved, worthy, and understood.
Thank you. So why is it so important for someone to feel self-love so that they can feel loved? Because, for example, I'm just looking at my own example, okay? So there are times in my life where I notice that, let's say someone gives me a lot of attention, okay? And let's say I've been single for a long time. And then all of a sudden, someone gives me a lot of attention. And all of a sudden, I feel loved. And because of that, I'm noticing that now I don't feel loved only by that person, but my entire experience of life transforms. And it's like, I'm not sure if it's like I'm changing frequencies or something, but all of a sudden, because I feel loved by that one person, I'm expressing love in my environment and myself. And because of that, I'm noticing that there are, you can say, pockets of love that are coming from so many external places. Like, I'm loved by thousands of people and then hundreds of thousands of people. And then I'm seeing love in my life. Okay. But the opposite is true as well. When I'm noticing that, let's say, I have no attention, like I'm single, I'm like nobody's writing me anything. It feels like nobody cares about me. I'm like far away, and it feels like, okay, nobody's written me any message, it feels like I'm unloved. And because of that, like, I'm depressed, and because of that, like, I don't feel like doing my job, So, I mean, I've been in that kind of situation before. So tell me, why is it important for someone like me to give themselves that love when they're feeling that? And will that be enough in terms of like feeling that love, so that as to patch up the missing love that you can say we're all expecting from other people?
Such a great question, because you've absolutely nailed, like spot on, what it actually feels like to rely on something external to allow you to have that feeling. So what you're saying is that if that attention is coming towards you, you can switch on the sensation of being loved in your body, and then you have a different viewpoint of the whole of the world. If you're not receiving that externally, then it switches off and you feel separate and disconnected from yourself and from everything around you. Now, this is an unconscious pattern that we experience through our lives where we're trying to grab the energy of everything outside of us to complete us internally. And there's almost an addiction that we fall into where we're constantly looking to see who's going to feed us that energy, where are we going to get that validation, who is going to tell us that they care about us, that they love us, that they're paying attention to us. So all of our attention is focused out there to survive the experience. Meanwhile, our internal relationship is secondary, far secondary. It's only when we stop getting the external energy fed into us that we go, hold on a minute, I'm actually an empty vessel. I can't feel my own love. I can only feel it when someone else is feeding into me. So we're trying to switch the energetic current, and we're trying to create a relationship to our own internal love. That means that we don't have to rely and be a victim also, almost to reality. And I don't like to say the word victim as in, in a really negative way, but if we're continually relying on something outside of us, then we do become a victim to it because we're not sovereign. And the path of becoming your own source of love, your own source of worth and knowing is that you become free and liberated. You're not looking for everyone outside you to feed into you because you already have that safely anchored in your own body. And that is the difference of that energetic feeling. So this work is it's a consciousness, and it's a bit of a shift because people just want to go from feeling unloved to feeling loved inside themselves. And they're like, how do I actually feel that? But there's quite a number of processes we need to go through to unravel our addiction to our survival reality, because it's not just about healing in here. It's about how are we interfacing, or how are we internally trying to reach into the external reality to fill us up. So there's a special place, not actually within us, that needs to be healed, but in our relationship with reality.
Thank you. So how do I become less dependent on this love, on this external love that other people can provide? Because what I'm noticing as well is that when other people pay attention to me, it's not only that like one person and then, hundreds of people and hundreds of thousands of people appear to love me, but also I feel like I'm pouring more love into myself, in the sense of like, perhaps I'm looking after my hair more and my nails, and maybe I'm going to have a massage. And, so I feel like when I'm feeling loved, I tend to pour more self-love into myself. But how can I give that to myself? And how can that be enough? And how can I become like not dependent at all on the love that other people can give me?
Well, I think it's really understanding the origins of that love as well. Because when you think about how you felt most safe as a little girl and how you felt most nurtured, it would have been when your parents applied loving attention to you. And when they gave you that attention, there was some part of you that felt safe, that felt that you were enough, that you were seen, that you were acceptable, that you were worthwhile. And that then fed an internal part of you that's like, when that person puts that love on me, I feel a sense of safety in my body. So I'm going to keep seeking that love outside of me. And the opposite is also true. If you didn't receive a lot of love as a child, then you're also going to be looking to fill that gap that didn't get met within you. So you're looking for others to feed that absence of knowing what that love feels like. And you can go from either end of it. Like, you're looking for the continual validation of your love, or you're looking to fill a gap where there wasn't that love and you didn't feel that love. And from both of those places, we're in a survival mode. So to survive our lives in this modern era, it's not about being physically safe, it's about being emotionally safe. So you're wanting to find emotional safety and soothe yourself internally, and that's where we keep seeking outside of us instead of going within us, because there's often a lot of pain and fear that comes up within us that we're not loved.
Thank you. So tell us some routines and practices that, let's say, I could do to feel loved.
Yeah. So it's a little bit paradoxical because one of the big reasons why we don't feel our own love is because we have a lot of fear about stopping looking for the love outside of us and actually looking for the love within us. Because if we stop looking for all the attention outside of us, we feel like a part of us is not going to get acknowledged. And so we feel like almost a bit dead. So it feels a bit uncomfortable. The addiction of looking for people to love us is strong. And when we stop putting our focus outside of ourselves, you're going to begin to feel some more pain in your body. So when you stop looking for other people to love you, you're going to get a better relationship with how you actually feel in yourself. And often underneath feeling unloved is a degree of pain, of some level of deep pain where you feel a separation from yourself. So I would say taking some time to actually feel into your body and feeling in when someone's not loving you, what pain arises in your body? What is the fear that comes up in your body? Because this is often a portal of self-connection that gets overlooked as we try to love ourselves.
Thank you. Tell us about self-abandonment, because that would be the kind of feeling that I would probably feel. I would feel perhaps like abandoned by everyone when, like let's say that I'm feeling that I'm not loved. I would also feel abandoned. So tell us more about how does someone self-abandon and what's the impact in someone's life for self-abandoning?
So often people will self-abandon because that's a safe way for them to survive a relationship. So instead of putting their needs primary or making sure that they get taken care of or that their values are met or that they're, say, nurtured, they'll want to nurture the other person. They'll want to do the things that they want them to do. They'll want to make sure that they are feeling comfortable and putting them on a pedestal so that the love comes back. But the only way we put someone else on a pedestal and make sure their needs are met and focus on them is to self-abandon ourselves. And as we self-abandon, we actually put the template in the relationship that we're up for abandonment because we've already abandoned ourselves. And from that place, we often find that that person ends up abandoning us because we have not been in our authentic self. We have not been truly connected to who we are and our own needs, values, and feelings. And we maybe are like, oh, I'll just do that for them, even though that doesn't feel okay for me. And that over time causes us to degrade our own connection to ourselves, undervalue ourselves. And then ultimately that person ends up undervaluing us as well. And we end up being abandoned by them.
Thank you. Tell us the multiple ways that we punish ourselves that tends to like replicate the you can say the lifestyle we had as a child. And what's the impact on that, on us feeling loved or unloved?
So the way that we punish ourselves is often that we've been punished as children. We've been told because our innate childlike capacities or ways of being have triggered our parents, and they have wanted to kind of, in some ways, coerce us, dominate us, control us, to keep us in a place that they don't feel emotionally threatened normally or overwhelmed. We then go on to have some level of suppression about ourselves. We're not in our full spectrum of ourselves because it doesn't feel safe, because we associate speaking up for ourselves, or we associate asking for our needs to be met, or wanting someone to show up for us as actually being something that's quite dangerous, because that was met with some level of emotional withdrawal or verbal punishment or verbal, dismissing, or physical punishment even. And I find when I work with people that have had physical punishment, the nervous system is wired in such a way that it feels like there's so much threat in the world, because everything that we tried to do as kids to survive was met in some way with some level of pain. So then we get fear. Well, the fear comes in, and we fear so much in relationships because we associate those primary relationships with being hurt on some level, emotionally or physically.
Thank you. So how can we stop replicating the past and duplicating our childhood wounds and heal those wounds so we can feel loved and worthy and seen and understood?
Yeah, so I find there's a beautiful multidimensional practice where you can actually travel back through space and time and visualize the version of you that was treated in a way that felt really unsafe. So maybe you might remember a time where your parents spoke to you in a way that really hurt your feelings or made you feel very small or a lot of pain because they said that you were wrong or not enough. Or maybe you remember times when you were deeply alone or not being noticed or comforted because you were emotional. These are the moments that are very core to our development of how we respond to things as adults. So what we want to do is we want to bring the adult version of us, the consciousness of us, and in our imagination go back through time and actually hold the younger version of us and actually give that version of us what we need. Because when I talk about loving self, we're actually meeting our own needs. And we are the only ones that know how to meet our own needs. So we all have very unique ways of feeling love, very unique ways of expressing ourselves and feeling worthy. And we're the only ones that truly know that. So when you apply your consciousness, your adult version, to really nurture the child version of you, then that version of you begins to feel safe in your own body. And it's almost like you're growing that version of you up to meet your adult life, because all the triggers that we experience are just a fractal or a repetition of the childhood trauma that we've had. So every time you're triggered now, it's just because there's a part of you that's stuck in space and time that's still in a lot of pain. So we want to go back and help that version.
Thank you. How do we know when we suddenly feel loved, worthy, seen, and understood? Give us some examples of some experiences that you've had or that maybe your clients have had that have made them feel that they no longer feel unloved, unworthy, and unknown.
Yeah, that consciousness is like a sense of wholeness and a sense of very deep peace and alignment. So what that looks like is there's no place to undervalue self, there's no place to abandon self, and there's no place to diminish any kind of self-expression. And when that happens, it's almost like you're leading and creating your life because you feel so deeply empowered that you don't have to put up with anything external. You don't have to settle for any relationship. You don't have to feel stuck in anything you do, because you're always able to process and clear a pathway internally for you to create a new level of reality. So I find people, they mend lifelong relationships that have been in some way fractured. So people that have been disconnected from family members or estranged from parents or haven't ever had a loving relationship, I find they end up reuniting with family members because they actually realize they're loved, and all those relationships change, or they find the person that actually honors them in the same way they honor themselves, and they step into these beautiful relationships. Or they realize their true worth and purpose, and you just see them showing up in that organically, and from that, life just begins to bring them opportunities and the financial connectivity that they're looking for to create what they want, and it just is a flow. But the really powerful thing that happens is that when you step into being loved, worthy, and known, you actually want very little, because you've already arrived in yourself. So it's like everything is just an organic flow. It's not like you're looking to manifest or you're looking to have something happen, because you've already completed who you are and how you feel. And when you feel and you're in that state of being, that you have that sensation in your body that you're safe in yourself, you're safe with your feelings, you're safe with your whole existence, then you're free. You're free to be a liberated being here and create what you want.
Thank you. Now, a human mind normally tends to kind of bring up a lot of like negative thoughts and emotions. So I'm wondering, what would someone do, an entrepreneur who, let's say, always comes up with certain feelings of being unloved and unworthy and unknown over the course of a day? How would they counteract that? Is there any tiny action they can take in terms of what they say, what they do differently to change that?
So I find consciousness is the most powerful transformational tool we have, and consciousness is an overarching awareness that when we apply our full spectrum consciousness to our lives, we collapse what's predictable and known, and we open to potential. So say, for example, you're saying the same things over and over and over. I would say get radical awareness and accountability to yourself that that's the repeat you're playing. And when you bring that radical accountability that I'm in repeat here, instead of automatically like reaching for the same thing, what I would say is there's a pause that grows. Because as we stretch consciousness, we stretch time and space, and we have more spaciousness to respond in a different way. So I would say bring full awareness to how you're looping, how you're repeating yourself. And as you bring that awareness, know that there is a space where you don't have to be triggered. You actually can make that point a choice point. So the more consciousness you apply, the more honest you are with how you're in an addiction of a loop of thinking, feeling, and behaving the same ways, the more expansion you have of your reality and the more potential you have for change.
Thank you. So let's say because of, being beaten since I was really young until 18 years old, I'm afraid of people. How would I start to feel safe around people and feel loved and safe in front of people, first of all?
So the one thing that every human fears is their own pain. Everyone fears their own pain. And so if you've experienced pain as a child ongoing, you will continue to fear that pain will be repeated everywhere you go. But the thing with fear is that it causes us to focus our attention on the same places over and over again where we think we're going to have pain, and that repeats and loops our reality. So what I get people to do is, instead of fearing pain, I get them to flip their awareness and come into a full relationship with the pain that's in their body. So the thing with pain is the pain you had as a child is still alive in your body now unless it's being processed. And when I say processed, it's not going into the suffering of the emotions around the pain. It's actually going into the visceral sensation in your body. So if I said to you the words, how does it feel to be abandoned? Where in your body can you feel the pain of abandonment?
Probably in my throat.
So that's where your program or your pain is lodged in your physical system. So that pain is then what I call a portal. And what I do is I work and support others to have a process where they go actually into the pain and investigate the pain to bring safety to it. Because the more you investigate and go, what is so painful for you, and you stretch your capacity to feel the sensation of pain, you make the sensation of pain safe in your body. And over time, you don't need to fear that other people can cause you pain, because you have a full relationship with your own pain. And that relationship is one of the most liberating factors of humanity, because when you know that, oh, I'm scared that person's going to abandon me, but the pain is actually lodged in your body from your childhood. So if you go and feel that pain to its full breadth, which often means you have to die to yourself on some level, the identity of you that's held on to that pain has to release. And you're going to feel like you're going to die because it's a really deep, stored, visceral pain in your body. When you feel into that and that releases, it's almost like you upgrade levels of reality, because you're no longer looking for that person to abandon you, because you've already felt the pain that's attached to it. So then you no longer need to run that program in the reality.
Thank you. Tell us where entrepreneurs can connect with you.
At allurahalliwell.com or at Allura Halliwell on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, all the places, Spotify. I have a podcast called The Consciousness Method, and I would love to support anyone that's feeling like their wounds are too much, because there's always a path through.
Thank you.
Follow me for more interviews with world's most innovative health changemakers to live your healthiest life ever.